Well, I started off with QHHT and I done level one, and then I started to do level two, and then I stopped it like halfway through, and I haven't visited it for about a year. And then throughout the journey, I noticed that I could speak to the other side. So loved ones, lost souls. But it was a case of differentiating what voice was what and who was who because I was getting everyone mixed up. The angels, the guides, the tricky spirits, loved ones, what was my voice. But now I've come to a place where I'm very good at differentiating who is who and what is what. That's still developing. Um, and I'm really sensitive to people's energies. So if I go into a room, um, I can now differentiate what's mine and what's whose and where it's coming from. Which is before it was a struggle for me. So I don't really know what direction I'm going in, to be honest. It's just all happening, and I think along the way I'll figure it out.
Right. Cool. And
Mm.
would you say that you had like a specific awakening as such, any point in your life? That would you had like a pinpoint, a date that you had an awakening? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was March 2020 during lockdown. It was almost
Okay.
instant. It was a case of overnight. I woke up the next morning and everything was just different. All my senses, every single one of my senses was just heightened. It's like someone got the dial and turned it all the way up. I was seeing
Right.
different, everything was sharper, everything was more colorful. I was hearing conversations from the other side of the house, which before I wouldn't be able to hear. Um, I could hear voices, started hearing voices. I didn't know what was going on, what was mine, if I was imagining it. And then I started to see the auras around the trees and different objects and things like that. So everything just hit me all at once. Um, and it was at the time I was going through, oh, sorry, a lot of hardship. So there was a breakup I was going through. I just lost my job. Um, Loads of things was happening at once. So it's like it was a complete crumble. And then when I crumbled, it was like throwing about the next day or the day after. That's when everything just turned up, and it started with a sense of overwhelming love. I had no fear, absolutely no fear in anything. Um, and then trying to explain that to people, where I went from kind of your normal daily living of 9 to 5, and to the next day talking to my family like nothing matters, everything's okay. All you've got to do is love each other. Don't worry about anything. And I'd go out and I'd be like, "Hi, good morning." So they were looking at me like, "Something? Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I'm okay. I'm just really happy." And then from then, they thought I was going crazy because I tried to explain what was happening. And then they sectioned me. My family put me in the mental home for 2 weeks. And then when I came
Oh
out of there,
God.
yeah, it was crazy. Came out of there, and then my senses was heightened again because I started seeing, like for example, around the traffic lights, the light was different. Just lots of different things was different, and I couldn't make any sense of anything. But then that was when the presence of the other side was stronger. Um, it was so instant. There was no one to explain anything to me, and it was just figuring that out along the way. I didn't know what was happening. So over the past 5 years, 6 years, it's been a learning curve.
Wow. That's
So
amazing,
yeah,
Laura.
it was interesting.
Really
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
And what's interesting for me is to hear that story because my story is quite the opposite in terms of my story
Okay.
was I had a very kind of immediate awakening which happened on the New Year's Eve during a meditation,
Uh-huh.
and I had an understanding that a frequency was kind of working its way into my energy field, and from that awakening, when after I came out of this meditation, everything was different. Like you said, everything was different. My energy body was different. Everything was magnetic towards me. I just had this understanding that I was in this new role, I was going to be doing
Hmm.
something. I didn't know what it was, but I just knew I was
Yeah.
going to be doing something. But for me, my energy body was literally like somebody had just taken the top of the pressure cooker, and all the
Yeah.
surf, everything, all the energy came to surface for me. The trauma, the emotion, literally, and it was immediate shock, like immediate shock of all the past life trauma, childhood trauma, everything came up. And
Mm.
like you, I was experiencing episodes of recognizing spirit, recognizing energy. You know, I knew that I was bringing up energy that needed to be released and purged. I recognized that I was getting connection through the passed over loved ones that were connecting with me. I recognized that I
Mm.
had dark energy spirits that were working with me. All of it happened like so quickly. I had no
Mhm.
idea who I could speak to about it.
Yeah.
I thought I was going mental, like seriously thought I was going mental. But for
Mm.
me, it happened that I was then being taken through a process where I was working with spirit, where they were showing me what was coming up, how to release it and purge it. But at the same
Mm.
time, I don't know about you, Laura, but I had like no spiritual. Well, no, I did have a spiritual background.
No idea.
I was,
I didn't believe in
yeah,
anything.
it, yeah. Well, for me, over a period of a couple of years, I'd slowly started to understand a few things,
Mhm.
but I didn't have any direct understanding that I could connect with spirit like this. For me, you know, I just thought of it as maybe a bit of energy. The past over
Yeah.
loved ones were there somewhere, but I didn't recognize how I could connect with them. And
Yeah.
anything to do with galactic races or past lives and that type of thing was completely unbeknown to me. I had no understanding of any of that. So I hadn't done any of
Hmm.
the QHHT stuff at this point. To me was like completely unbeknown. So the learning journey for me was like that. I had to learn like super, super quick.
Yeah, me
I
too.
thought I was,
It was like a crash
yeah,
course. Hmm.
pardon?
It was like a crash course.
It was a crash course. It was a crash course. And what I'm
Yeah.
because obviously for me, what you need to also appreciate is that this is new to me. Like somebody started firing in questions and like asking like big universal questions of like how was the universe created and stuff
Yeah.
like that. You know what I
That's
mean?
weird.
There's only a limitation to what my consciousness holds and understands. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because the questions that you sent through to me, what they do resonate with me. They all resonate with me to some degree. So it's like even in this week, the information that you've asked me, the questions you've asked me, I recognise that they relate to my life at this moment in time as well. So you've channeled through questions to me. You
Uh,
individually have channeled through the questions to me. So you're putting the questions out there to the universe, and obviously indirectly you're looking for an answer for me to respond to that. So I can sense now that my guides are wanting to come through, but I just like to, I suppose, let's just continue my story for Laura so she understands. So when I when my awakening happened, I recognized that I started to have a channel. I started to recognize that I was channeling, but not in the understanding of I know that I'm going to start verbally channeling, but just understanding that information was coming through to me. So probably very similar to yourself, Laura, where you recognized that you had something else, some other energy that was coming into your energy field and was providing messages to you. Would you agree with that, Laura?
yeah, because there was a point where I couldn't stop it coming out. I'd be sitting around a table with a group of people, and it's like something jumped in me and just started blurting out whatever needed to come out. But there's a lot of things I don't remember when that happened. It was other people telling me, "Oh, you done this and you said this," and I was like, "Really?" But then some of it I do
Wow.
remember, and I do remember. It's like I was watching myself doing it, but I had no control over stopping it. So
Wow. Okay. And what kind of things were coming out? Can you remember anything? Or
it could be a case that we were sitting around the table, and I would kind of hear in my mind what someone else was thinking, and I would say it, or it could be a case that before someone would turn up to the house or wherever he was, I would be able to know who was coming. Um, Before someone was about to do something, so for example, get up and make a coffee, the video would run through my mind of that specific person, and it would happen. There was a whole load of different things that happened. I can't pinpoint exactly the specifics of conversations and stuff and what was said, but it was just more so. I had no control over. I don't know if it. What I think was happening was someone's whoever was on the other side that had a message to deliver, but it started off as not very nice messages towards people. But I feel like it was whoever's ancestors was hanging around, some something to say to someone else, and it was me that was delivering it. I can't explain it properly, but it was like
So
I was
yeah, I
being
get
used
you.
as a medium to voice whatever needed to be said from the other side. Because after I
I
said it, I
understand.
was like, what happened and where did that come from? But someone else would react. I knew someone else took the message because they would react in a way as if to say, like, whoa. It resonated with them.
It's more like a mediumship, it sounds to me.
Yeah, it was happening, and but I wasn't in control. They were just jumping in, me jumping out, jumping in, jumping out, because I was so open at the time.
Yeah. Okay. And where are you? Where are you now?
Sorry.
Where are you now with that, Laura?
Now, because it was quite traumatic when it started happening, I blocked off a lot of it. Now I'm more accepting of it, and I'm more in control of no one can jump nothing or no one can jump into me without my say so. And things will come through for me to say, but I can very easy switch off the radio channel to it and disconnect. Whereas before, it would frighten me, and I feel like I'd either have to say it or I'd turn mute. So now
Okay, cool.
it's a case of more so trusting that what's coming through is not my imagination.
That's good.
And just saying it, whatever's happening. So it's a trusting process that whatever's coming through is the right thing at the moment. Because now I know the feelings as well. If something what's coming through to say, whether I should say it or not, I can understand that better now. So I've got more control over it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a big kind of process around this that I had to work through as well, and that's all about discernment, isn't it? And understanding the energies that are coming through and why they're coming through. And you
Yeah.
know, this was a big part of my journey, was having to go through many different phases where I was receiving energies which I would consider being very dark or very evil, even manipulated energies. And believe it or not, this has actually happened to me today, right?
Yeah.
So, but what's interesting is that I've had to go through such a big process to kind of understand that when these energies are coming through, they are also coming through for a reason. So even though they are dark energies or entities that actually we would consider being here to kind of latch onto us or being from an evil perspective, that's actually not how I see that anymore. Okay. You know, I see it that when those energies or entities or whatever you want to call it were channeling through to you at that time, Laura, that was there for a very specific purpose, for helping deliver the message to the soul that you were working with, whether that be a family member or friend, but also for that being a level of a process that you needed to go through to be able to discern. So if you didn't go through that process in the stages of having those entities come through to you or energies and recognize them as being manipulative, then you wouldn't have been able to go through that discernment process.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? So it actually had its very important purpose for you, as it did for me. And if I didn't, it's like anything, isn't it? If we don't train something, if we don't learn to do something, then how can we say that we've actually got an experience of doing it? And how can we make sure we've got that, understand that we've got that filtering system in? So, you know, and it's like each time we go through these upgrades, if you like, we go through these monthly cycles that happen, because each month, well, you know, the planet's going through something pretty big and pretty profound, and the energies are coming through. And each month we're getting this influx of energies, which are essentially are helping the planet ascend. But each month, it's creating more and more souls to waken up in the way that Laura has and the way that I have, for more and more souls to be open to these other energies coming through, which you class them as evil energies, dark energies, or whatever. So when you were asking me, Vivien, about the energy theme of 2026, for me, this is very much about what, you know, Laura has brought forward and what I'm bringing forward. And that is that, you know, we've had to go through a process of discernment, a very big, quick process of discernment, which, you know, Laura had no idea what she was doing. I have had no idea what I was doing. And without actually sitting there and experiencing those really scary moments, I'm sure you'd agree, Laura. I don't know if yours were scary, but mine were.
Terrifying.
Yeah, terrifying. Unbelievable. Yeah, you can't put it into words how scary these experiences are, can you?
I think I need some examples, being a person who haven't gone through that process. So Bex, you said you felt even today, felt the energy that can be manipulative. But what does that mean? Like, what do you mean by that?
Okay, so great way to put this forward is that, so obviously as I'm a channel, I'm a conscious channel, so information comes through into my energy field, if you like, and then obviously as a physical being, I have to kind of translate that. So my brain, my conscious being, is a translator. So the energy comes through. I'm in a conscious state, but I'm able, because of obviously the level I've got to now, I'm able to bring through the information and I'm able to kind of translate out there. But there's a filtration system that has to happen. There's a part of a filtration that needs to make sure that whatever I'm verbalizing is of a light or of a truth nature. Yeah. But so there's the ego mind that still has to play a part in that. And there's, as you obviously are all aware, there's still other energies that might still want to work with me to create a different version of information that's coming out. Yeah. So over this last month or so, I've started to channel a lot more when I'm doing my own admin work. It's absolutely brilliant. It cuts everything down by half in terms of what I need to do. So I literally can now dictate stuff to AI. I can dictate to WhatsApp. It's brilliant. You know, rather than actually having to type everything out, which takes so much more longer. So I've been doing this over this last few weeks and practicing. And then today I was doing it and I'm like, okay, right, something's coming through now that doesn't make sense. And I'm like, so I go back into my channel, I'm just listening and I'm feeling it. And then as I'm getting this information coming through, and I'm not verbalizing it, it's just coming through my consciousness. So it's almost like somebody talking to me, you know, or me, my higher self that's working with me. And this information comes, and then all of a sudden I start feeling this feeling. I'm like, okay, something's coming. And it's almost like you get in, how do I explain? It's almost like somebody coming and giving you a cattle prod, giving you like those terrifying electric shock. But at that moment in time when that happens, and this has happened to me like many, many times, at that point, I get like a voice that says something very, very dark and very manipulative to me. Like, you have been possessed. You are the devil. You are manipulated. You don't, we have your soul. A very, very, which is not my words, not coming from me. It's another entity or energy that comes through. And if you can imagine when you're just sat there and all of a sudden you've got something else, like you probably had your experience, Laura, as well, this energy coming through and giving you this, it's like, oh my God. And then you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And you sat there and you're terrified. Your whole body goes into trauma, you're shocked, your body, everything's like this. And this has happened to me on many, many, many occasions, but not for quite some months, not since July the 12th when I had the big second Kundalini awakening, which is for another podcast. But, you know, these, I would call them manipulative episodes, were designed in my awakening, in my ascension process, to enable me to go into that kind of shock system. Like when we have a trauma, when we're in a car crash, when something happens with it, it's that traumatic that our body has to remember it. Yeah, viscerally, we have to remember it. And, you know, that's what happened today. But because I've gone through it so many times, it happened for the first time for a long, long time, which I now realise was all meant to happen for tonight's episode, for tonight's podcast. So I could go, okay, all right, yeah, off on your bike, basically. I know what you're doing, all right. And even though I did get a little bit of this going on for a moment, I was like, yeah, whatever. Whereas 6 months ago, I'd have been absolutely terrified, and to the point where I've had some of these episodes where I could not even close my eyes. I was too terrified to actually have my eyes closed. I was too terrified to sleep, where the point I'd sat up awake, like completely awake all night, too terrified to close my eyes. Oh, it was awful. So when we're talking about energy and understanding manipulation and discernment, and how kind of soul who's gone through this experience, like myself and Laura, I'm sure Laura's going to tell her experience in a moment as well, actually recognize the difference between dark energy and truth energy, whatever you want to use it. You have to experience it. It's not something that you can say to somebody, oh yeah, you just need to start putting, you start using sage, that's going to work. Because it's not, for me, it's not about sage and smoke. Yes, obviously those things do help because they contain energy, they contain an element of something within them, which helps to help our energy body, our auric field, to kind of filter through stuff, or help our filter system. But just understanding it as it being a dark energy that's just trying to attach to me, and I have no kind of control over that, is utter rubbish to me personally.
How do you? Sorry, yeah, go on.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll just finish this bit off, but it was only by me changing my mindset around the understanding that dark energy is not something that we don't have control over, right? When I changed my mindset around that, everything changed. Understanding that we actually, you look at it this way as well, that we have agreements with the dark energy. I call them dark guides, basically. I call them the light guides, dark guides. We actually have an agreement with these dark guides to enable us to actually access the dark energy, to enable us to actually have this experience. Because if we didn't have those experiences, we wouldn't be able to learn from them, and we wouldn't be able to understand the process of feeling dark energy. So why is it that why is it everybody thinks that when we sit in fear of the dark, and that's the problem, is that when we sit in fear of the dark, that's lowering our vibration, isn't it? Just by default, we're in a low vibration. So if we're able to kind of go, okay, like I did today, all right, yeah, I see you, thanks, cheers, but on your bike, that's completely changed the way this process worked for me, rather than it being, oh my God, oh no, help. It was it was a different experience. So, for me, and what's interesting is I'm looking at what Laura and I are both wearing tonight. And, what I see is that initial awakening day that we both had, where Laura's initial awakening day was all about love and light and white, yeah, whereas mine was very, very dark.
Yeah.
Right? It's almost like we're mirroring each other. That's what I'm seeing. The guides bringing through to me now. It's almost like Laura and I are a bit of mirror. I've got a mirror image going on. So I hope that answered your question, Vivien, in terms of I've got so much more to share on that. It's unbelievable, but that's just a very, very brief, basic kind of answer.
And I think you just answered my question I was gonna ask. Like, my question was, how do you come out of that state when you sense that dark energy, but you just answer that you can just change your mindset, and that comes from your experience. You cannot really do that at the very beginning or when it happens for the first time, but over time you learn how to change your mind. So it's a kind of process of self-empowerment, it looks to me. Yeah.
An awareness of it, and it's the thing is that until you're aware of it, until and again, I suppose because I was secluded from spiritual understanding, if that makes, because I didn't have much of a spiritual background, I wasn't in program to think that, I've got to call in the angels, I've got to work with this, I've got to work with that. And I'm not saying that's not correct, because to me, they are all there for a purpose as well. And they all hold a frequency, and they are part of the universe, a part of our ascension process. They are part of it all. We're part of them, they're part of us. So it's not that we don't work with them, because of course we do, but we work with them on a level that they're working with us as much as we're working with them. It's not a one-way street. They're not just here to provide us service. We're here to provide them service as well. And that's what's again, a different mind, a bit of a mindset around all this. And people might listen to me and think, no, Bex, you're talking absolute rubbish. But look, I've gone through this process and I've been able to come out of it at the other end, being able to channel and discern what comes through. And that's the only kind of, to me, the way I can explain, well, if your way works better, then that's fine. You do your way, I'll do mine. You do you, I'll do me. But that's how I've dealt with it.